Um, hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Heart Mind Happy Hour. I am your host, Holly Copeland, human potential coach and research scientist, biohacker, and into consciousness and meditation and all kinds of groovy things like that. And very excited today for a super special guest. We have Ria Rustagi from Germany tonight, and she is going to talk to us about the Neuphony, which is a new neurofeedback EEG headset. And really excited in the world of neurofeedback and that type of technology. So many of us on the Heart Mind Alchemy Project page use the Muse headband to record our meditations, and it's a fantastic piece of technology, but there are also some limitations with it. And so to see some of this new technology come out that might not have those limitations and provide other benefits is super exciting. And so I think that the Neuphony is one of those headsets that might bring some additional tools in the toolbox of people who are, especially who are using headsets for meditation. And really excited to talk to Ria today. So welcome, Ria, to Heart Mind Happy Hour.
Thank you so much, Holly and Kiefer, for having me on your platform.
Absolutely. And I also want to welcome special guest and friend, neuroscientist Kiefer O'Sullivan. Kiefer has been on the show before, and he has a background in biomedical technology and neuroscience and is a wonderful collaborator and partner. And always has incredible insights and wisdom to add. So I'm very excited that he could join us today as well. Welcome, Kiefer.
Oh, thank you so much for those lovely words, Holly. It's great to be a recurring character on your show here every week. So happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, it's really
great to be here with you too, Ria.
Same here.
And Kiefer is going to monitor the Facebook commenting. So if you have questions, we'll probably, unless it feels appropriate and Kiefer can jump in, we'll probably take those towards the end. But as they come in, if it is relevant to what we're talking about, then I guess Kiefer, just go ahead and try to chime in.
Sounds good.
With those questions. So, yeah. And so Ria, you have an engineering background. And you were born in India. You now live in Germany. You're the ripe old age of 26. I can't believe. You're obviously, a go-getter and getting your foot out there, stepping up in an incredible way to be working on this technology at such a young age. It's really inspiring and exciting to talk to you. I'd love to just start with telling the audience a little bit about how you got involved with Neuphony and a little bit of your background.
So firstly, thank you for the amazing introduction. I'm overwhelmed. Regarding how I got into Neuphony, so it was 2 years back, we started the journey of Neuphony, where we started the research like as a proper startup, but it goes a little further back. My elder sister, she was diagnosed with a brain disease in 2016, and it was one of a kind. In India, at that time, it wasn't very well aware of what it was. So it was brain meningitis. She had an infection in her meningitis layer. And at that time, when she was hospitalized, it went from like a very conscious and a normal person to straight away stroke ICU for 6 months. And at that time, it was, she was just 25 at that time. And it was very overwhelming for me to kind of see her at that, in that condition. Unfortunately, she is not with us anymore. And during that time and after that, it was very difficult for me to kind of understand what is happening to her, because, there are a lot of different things in this world we are aware of. There are different illnesses, we are even heard of them, but especially when it comes to brain, a common person has no idea about it. So an engineer and a family who didn't have any doctors, and even if we had doctors in the friends area, they were all heart surgeons, they were all physicians. It was very difficult to really get insights into what is happening in her brain. Why do we have to do so many surgeries, and why is it not curable? At that point, I kind of started digging in about what the brain is, understanding what really happened. And I was like, oh my God, we know nothing. And me and my co-founder, who is also my fiance, Bhavya Madan, we kind of started understanding the brain from a very common person's perspective. So that was kind of like 2016. And he has always been wanted to be an entrepreneur. He always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And for him, chaos is interesting. For him, chaos is the fun part. So we kind of clubbed everything together, and our company is named Pankh Tech. It's after my sister Pankhuri. So this is our inspiration, and this is the motivation. And then in 2018, we kind of decided that we want to really take it as a proper startup. We want to create a wearable because we are engineers, and our thing is to build stuff, So we decided that we just don't want to study. We want to build something. We want to make something. And then we started to kind of understand what we could do around it. So going into the clinical applications for an engineer was very difficult. Especially it requires a lot of long path to study about it. So we kind of saw that stress right now, the first problem is stress for most of the people with our current lifestyle. And we wanted to do something to solve, we just didn't want to bring just another gadget into the world. We wanted to bring something with a purpose and something to help. And that's why we wanted to aim the stress and mental health aspect to kind of help people in a way which can make their lives better. And actually coming from India, meditation comes very like engraved into our childhood. So that was not a new concept for us. So we just connected all the dots together in 2018 and then started working on Neuphony as a project, as a startup.
Yeah. Well, my just heart goes out to you for the loss of your sister, and hearing you tell your story, and oh yeah, brings tears to my eyes, really. So I'm so sorry. And it's incredible to hear how you were inspired by, that and that journey, and how you are turning it into something, positive for the world, and naming the company after your sister and this work. It's really inspiring. Thank you for sharing that story.
No problem. I want to share my story with people for different reasons, because there was a lot of pain. I was a different person. I have personally gone through mental health issues during and after that phase. And I just want people to kind of take the pain and make it and dedicate it, dedicate the pain to the person they have so much love for. And I know that I don't want, she was in paralysis for 6 months, and I wasn't able to communicate with her for the last 6 months. And for me, it was very important that there has to be a way which we can kind of, make something for it, where a person in paralysis, something, just a yes or no at that time would have been suffice, her saying just a yes or no. And this is something which I have decided that I want to take my kind of life towards, that even if maybe in the future, maybe we can create, maybe we cannot, but that is my dedication to kind of put the effort into it.
Yeah, absolutely. When we know that awareness that's here is not bound ultimately by the body, then I do feel like what you're saying should be possible, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. No. Wow, that's quite a mission. So inspiring. So in the world of EEG technology, like I talked about the Muse, and there's some others, NeuroSky, and this sort of wearable, inexpensive personal technology. What led you to the Neuphony specifically? Like, why didn't you just say, oh, I can find in one of these other headsets, what we're looking for? What was it that made you go out and build your own?
So as you mentioned in the introduction as well, with the existing devices, there's always been a trade-off between the usability and the functionality. When we started to dig in about brain, we always felt that there has to be more. Okay, this was the first, basic instinct. There has to be more. There is either been a trade-off, like the devices are either too heavy or too research grade for a person who doesn't understand EEG, or either they aim only at the frontal lobe, and that's just one out of the 4 lobes. There is limitation to what it can capture. We wanted to kind of bring all the aspects when it comes to this factor that we want to capture more information. We want to make it lighter. We want to make it sleeker, because especially coming from India, where mental health is a very big stigma still, we don't want people to feel like, they are wearing, because when you go for more lobes, if you want to cover more regions, there are limitations, not with regards to the technicalities, but sometimes with regards to the aesthetics. And this is something which is very important. So we have dry brushed sensors, which capture the activity very nicely, even in the hair part. So that is not a concern, but we wanted to make the design very sleek so that people don't feel like, I have something weird on my head, We wanted people who have issues not to kind of feel that this is a crazy sci-fi device. We wanted to like a cool device. So this is why we created Neuphony, because we wanted to bring everything we saw we could do as engineers and which were missing in the market. We wanted to kind of overcome a little bit part of that trade-off.
Sure, and that makes a ton of sense. There are definitely some, issues with each of the devices that are out there. And so, do you have a personal meditation practice that you had been using those other devices, so you were familiar with them?
So in India, generally, the most common type of meditation is transcendental meditation. So like my mother is very much into spirituality. So that is something which I was subconsciously doing. I just wasn't aware of that in the Western world, we have a name for it as a meditation, because we always called it prayers. So that was subconsciously meditation. But during the phase of when my sister was in the hospital, I extensively looked for meditation techniques. But now, as you can imagine, for me as a person, I never liked listening to music. And that is something very weird. So for me, listening to music is not very common. So I always had challenges in meditation. So I always preferred plain, simple breathing, like the yogic meditation. That was my go-to practice, because, and especially after the trauma phase, by books, I should be doing mindfulness meditation, because for me, the beta activity in my frontal lobe is very, very high all the time. So by books, I should be doing mindfulness. I've tried it, but I always kind of woke up with more anxiety because I think of the trauma part. And I prefer breathing meditation. And now with Neuphony, I was able to find few music. I don't like to give it name. I just found some music which helps me kind of push my brain into that particular state which I'm looking for, like maybe sleep or maybe focus during my work. So that's how I kind of went into.
Yeah. Okay, great. That's really helpful background. And I'm thinking, Kiefer, do you want to comment a little bit about the devices that are out there on the market right now, and maybe a little bit?
Actually, I think kind of from what you described, Ria, the Neuphony sounds like a really appealing middle ground, right? Especially from my perspective as a neuroscientist, right? Because as you mentioned, there's this huge dichotomy of either you're very, very limited in your EEG, or you're the opposite end and you're a $10,000 plus, EEG crazy cap with wires and all kinds of kind of ridiculous things for the average person. And that's, that kind of thing has been great for scientists like me for a long time, right? But there's an issue to where that's very, very limited, and it's very difficult often to get data from a person, to have the one person come in and sit down and have you do this whole 20-minute setup to get some good data from them. And then years later, all of a sudden we have things like Muse, right? So kind of the portable headsets that are the exact opposite end of the spectrum now. And that's great as well, because it creates this environment where there's this democratization of EEG to where now I'm not limited to just who can actually come in and get good data at the clinic one day. It's whoever's out there on the internet can actually acquire data and buy their own headset and do work in that way. But as you mentioned as well, stuff like Muse is very limited. You know, it really only captures the frontal lobes very well, and there's issues with the refresh rate sometimes, some of the data and stuff like that. And so Neuphony is actually really, really appealing because, you know, it's like what you're telling me is that you guys kind of come in the middle ground there to be like, we're not so hardcore that we're shooing people away, but we're not so superficial that we're just getting a initial glance at the brain. So that's really, really appealing for somebody like me who would really love for not just me to have a device like this, but everybody I know to have it, so they can send me their data from all of these different, you know, all the different lobes. I think you guys, it's a eight channel setup, is that correct?
Yes.
Which would be really, really interesting to being able to start collecting the amount of data that we can with these portable Muse-like EEG headsets, but actually now getting that volume of data, but from the increased electrodes, from the increased, you know, robustness that the Neuphony device can provide. So it's really, really, I'm really eager to get into it once you guys have a US release and to see how a device like Neuphony enters the market and kind of shakes up what we're doing right now and what we can do, which is really, it's exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Kiefer mentioned a couple of key points. So it has 8 sensors. So like so many people are familiar with the Muse, it has the 2 frontal and temporal, but then the Neuphony also has some occipital sensors as well. And then
Parietal.
Top of the brain.
Yes, so we have parietal, frontal, and temporal.
Yep.
Occipital is something which we have not covered in our hardware, but we do cover frontal, temporal, and parietal.
Okay.
And then we have 2 reference nodes. So 8 is signal and 8 2 reference.
Okay, great. And then the other point of clarification, so is your device geared towards meditators? Who do you see the primary users are? Is it like Muse, a meditation geared device, or is it broader than that?
I would like to say it's a little broader. So we don't want to limit ourselves to meditation, but to music as a whole. So there are, for meditation, what we have seen is people either love it or they think it's just philosophical. And there what we try to do is meditation is the core of the brain. Meditation is something which you guys know how useful and helpful it is. But what we also do is we kind of use the concept of how music in general can change your brain. So while we do analyze and we do believe that one size does not fit all when it comes to meditation specifically, I personally have seen that because, as I said, by book, I have a brain which should do mindfulness meditation because I'm pretty emotional. So that's what fits into me, but that was not very good when I tried it. It just had a very bad experience. So I don't like to when I go to people, I don't like to limit with the word meditation, but with music and meditation, because we believe like music as a whole has the power to change your brain. It can drive the structure of your brain using different meditation techniques based on where it really falls into. But yes, so and what we want to do with the device is we want to change the way we perceive mental health. Right now, it's a more very reactive approach. As we were talking before, that 95% of the people have gone through bad phases in their life and then gone to meditation. We want to change that. We want to make it a very proactive approach. Like we do with our heart rate, like we do with our sugar levels, like we do with our blood pressure levels. We are monitoring them and we don't wait to kind of fall down the physical health aspect. You know, we are constantly monitoring it. And this is what we wanted to kind of change as a whole. So not only for meditation, but if people want to just have a nice focused state during work or just before going to sleep, or before or after their workouts. So they can use different techniques to kind of track their brain and kind of relax them into different states. So gratitude, focus, relaxation, empathy. There are a lot of different states we kind of want to cater to. So a person who wants to achieve any of these things would be our ideal customer.
Okay, great. That's really interesting. So it's a bit broader than the Muse. And what I hear you saying is that actually the person in your model might choose to wear this device multiple times throughout the day, like at check-in points, or even like listen to music while they're working, and they can kind of get but they're getting feedback, right? So they're hearing if their brain is busier or more focused, right?
Focused, definitely.
Okay, and give us a sense of what's that like in your model? Is it like, you know, a rain and then, you know,
it's the auditory feedback, so volume modulation, because we believe that we don't want to give you custom noise, sounds to kind of tell you that, but we kind of do volume modulation to tell you that you are being driven away from the desired state. So if it is focus, sleep, or whatever you have desired in the mobile application, whatever you have set your target as, you are kind of moving or drifting apart from it.
Okay, so it gets louder as you're drifting towards the desired state and quieter as you're away from the desired state, or is it the opposite?
So it's you can set an ideal volume. So it's ideal when you're in the zone, and it's kind of slower when you're drifting away from the zone. So because, you know, kind of, you can bring it up. So because sometimes loud noise can kind of push you off the edge.
Right. Yeah. Okay, great. That's a lot like, I've used the Mind Lift before, neurofeedback. And if you're using the Mind Lift settings for just listening, it's volume modulation as well. So, okay, great. So I see what you're saying. With volume modulation, you could imagine somebody working at their desk, listening to some music and trying to stay in a focused state. And then, and then they would know if they're out of it in a distracted state because the volume would go down. Is that right?
Exactly. Because for me, like, for me, generally I do 5 minutes to 10 minutes meditation in the morning, like just when I get up on my bed kind of schedule. And then during the day, for me, office sometimes gets a little crowded and a little noisy. And there are a lot of deadlines, but you cannot kind of meet them. And I always prefer listening to music at that time. And I believe that, you know, I can use that state kind of to become more efficient. So then we could, I generally use the Neuphony headset at that time. And generally, like in the evening, I have difficulty sleeping in because of the high beta activity. And then I kind of use it again just before the sleep.
Okay. So that then begs the next question, which is, can you change the target? So in traditional neurofeedback, you can pick my target, my goal is a meditative state, or my goal is a focused state. Is that programmable?
Yes. So in the mobile application, there are different states you can choose, like ranging from 6 to 8. There is also a state for experienced meditators who don't like any guidance, any music, and just want to be left alone with like a timer. So there is like, there is that state as well, where we are just tracking and we are not giving you any modulation. So you can choose, there are a lot of different states you can choose in the mobile application, and then you can choose custom settings accordingly.
Okay, but you can actually choose what your target brainwaves are. Is that right?
Not the target brainwaves, but the target state. And then we kind of recommend people to kind of reach the target waves by that.
So can you give us an example, like what would be a target state?
Focus.
Okay. So that's going to cover, you know, presumably kind of a low beta, you know, kind of setting. I don't know, an SMR setting, I'm imagining. Yeah.
So generally in the focus on concentration setting, what we are trying to do is we want the frontal lobe to have high beta activity. So this is what we kind of help people kind of reach through. So it's not that we are kind of sending any waves, but we are kind of modulating the volume to push people's brain into that state.
Okay. Yeah, but you answered my question. So like higher beta in the frontal lobes, something like that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, great. So that's really amazing, because that is, you know, far more customizable than anything else on the market that I'm aware of Because that's, now we're talking about true neurofeedback, where rather than they choose one desired setting, actually you're saying that you can choose amongst a number of different goal states to achieve,
Yes.
right?
Yes, definitely.
Phenomenal. Wow, that's amazing. Don't you agree, Kiefer? This is going to be some...
Yeah, that's like really, really appealing, because it really allows people to use neurofeedback in whatever way they kind of want to, right? You know, for focus or for calm or for sleep, which is really appealing because they can get all that in one device. I'm curious as well, for me, kind of on the research side, is there a way to kind of pull some of the data from that, or can you, you know, just use it as like an EEG cap and kind of just pull the raw data, and then I can kind of do my thing with that kind of thing?
Yes, definitely. So we are engineers and we always take care of our fellow researchers. So what we have done is definitely I have to tell you this thing. We as engineers kind of always understand that we need few things where we can build stuff. Okay, so research cannot be completed if I am giving you one finished product and not giving you the feasibility to kind of build upon it or change it. And we want, so there are three modes basically. One is the mobile application, the user interface. The second interface is via the mobile application, you can export the data, and then you can go to Neuphony website and you can just upload the data file and see the power plots. That's the second mode. And then the third way what we are providing is a cloud platform. So your data, if you choose, you can store it on the cloud platform, and then you can just log in into the Neuphony website and see the power plots, the raw EEG data.
Fantastic. So that would be,
yeah.
So that would be very similar to downloading a Mind Monitor plot for the Muse and uploading or a Muse plot and uploading onto Mind Monitor, except it sounds like maybe you have more sophisticated power plot capability rather than what's available right now on Mind Monitor. Yeah. Yeah.
And we are also providing like SDKs as so that people can kind of build devices over it, you know, think of applications maybe we have not thought of, you know, it can be from neuroscientific perspective, or it can be even from engineering perspective, because we want Neuphony to be the device which people would want to use. In India, like especially, there are a lot of universities which have started to explore the domains of neuroscience for research applications, brain controlled wheelchairs, brain controlled robots, all of that aspects. And we want to kind of help our fellow community in that sense, that there is one device, not just with one sensor, two sensors, but a lot of sensors so that they can control different aspects as well.
Wow. Amazing. So yeah, you really see this as a broadly applicable headset, far beyond kind of stress and meditation to, I mean, we're talking about wheelchair, you know, interfaces with various types of electronics. That's really incredible.
I think that's really the way to do it as well, because as we've seen in the different communities and Facebook communities, people are so eager to just get access to this stuff and play with it, right? To get the SDK, to get the data, to get this and that, and see kind of just what they can do with it. And that's how just really cool inventions are made. And that's been really honestly the most difficult part of what Interaxon is doing with Muse, is that they've slowly but surely cut off all of those SDK, all that open source stuff, all of that ability to do anything else with the Muse. And it's been a real challenge. So like for me, when I do my data, it's like I have to use Mind Monitor as not as anything to do with its calculations or any functionality it has, but just to, as a middleman, to pull the raw data from the Muse device, because the Muse company took away that ability. And there's so many people that, you know, message me or message the community and are like, oh, I have such a cool idea for, you know, a kind of a neurofeedback program I could build, you know, with an EEG device, or just some cool program that responds to your brain waves. And they're like, I have everything, but then they get up to the part where they need the Muse SDK or something like that, and they just don't have it. And then it's like, well, their balloon was just kind of popped at that point. And so when something comes out that has, you know, more sensors, but a lot more ability to actually access and play with that, it's really exciting to me what people are going to do with that, you know, just on the internet, right? When you put your product out there in
Yes.
the world, people are going to come up with all kinds of really fantastic, creative solutions to do whatever they want with it. And I think that's a really, really appealing part of the device, is to have it, you know, open and free, because there's a lot you can do with EEGs when you open them up, and a lot of information that could be gained. So that's really cool that you guys are focusing on that.
Thank you. The purpose of Neuphony was, like, this is something I have to tell you. For 1 year, while my co-founder was working on the research and the prototyping part, our focus was that we just kind of gather all the requirements, all the problems, and make sure that we kind of cover the community aspect, because this is something very important to Neuphony as a brand. Because as I say, in the engineering domain, when we were in university, when we were doing our BTech, there were like very small Arduino boards and Raspberry Pi boards, which we always played around with. And what if those boards were not there? These robotics fields, this industry would not have evolved. And with brain control, I know that there's a lot of scope. And coming from the point where I am, it's important to have a device which solves problem. And we want to provide that platform. It's possible that somebody else could figure out, using Neuphony, how to read the brain waves and how to kind of help people with bedridden issues. And for us, that was the key aspect, that problem has to be solved. It doesn't matter who solves it, you know. Neuphony could just be a way to solve the problem, but that problem needs to be solved.
Yeah, and that gets to the heart of your sister's, you know, some of the things you encountered with your sister, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so, wow. That's wonderful. It's wonderful to see and imagine the broad medical implications of what you're talking about. It's really inspiring. So before the show, before we got live, we talked a little bit about gamma. I know a number of our users, because of the links between gamma and meditation and higher consciousness states, like been shown by, you know, Lutz and Richard Davidson and others in this realm, have really pointed to this, you know, very interesting link between higher consciousness states and gamma. And so being able to accurately record that on a brainwave, you know, through an EEG on a brainwave device is really appealing. And the technology so far, at least I'm aware that Muse has some limitations in that respect and kind of tops out. So Kiefer, I know you had some thoughts on this when we were talking. It sounded like your understanding was that it, from the sampling rate, that it probably was going to meet the needs for that part of the community. Is that right?
Yeah. And so it seems like the Neuphony has a pretty decent refresh rate, and it's something that I guess you guys are going to be upgrading that in the future, you mentioned as well.
Yes.
And so I guess just to put a couple raw numbers, you know, if you say the default refresh rate is 256 hertz, it means it's sampling the brain 256 times per second. The frequency, the brainwave frequency that you can competently evaluate with an EEG device, rule of thumb, is half of your refresh rate. And so 128 hertz would be, you know, from 0 to 128 hertz is the range that, you know, you could make a graph and show what brainwaves are what for Neuphony. And then as you upgrade that, the ability to competently comment on higher frequencies increases as you go up as well.
And that makes a lot of sense, because that's just we're just now talking about the length of the wave itself. So if the sampling rate is too sparse, then you can't capture that wave, right? Right, Kiefer?
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, yeah, you need the quicker waves to capture everything below it.
Yeah. Okay, and sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Ria. What were you going to say?
No, I was just saying that the update, so the hardware is compatible for the higher sampling rate update, which we are planning for April using the USB connection. So this is something which we are aware of and we want to kind of work on. So the hardware, with the same hardware, you get the software update eventually in time.
Okay, great. So I'm super curious. You mentioned that you have a release in India already. Is that right? Can you tell us a little bit about is this product on the market? Where is it on the market? Because we have users from all over the world, so I don't want to be US centric. Globally, where can you buy one, and about how much does it cost?
So we have launched our device for pre-booking in Europe and in India, starting 9th of September. So you can just go to the website www.neuphony.com and you can pre-book the device over there, because with the first round, we are kind of going for an exclusive round with 1,000 devices in mind, to kind of first set up the scale for the business and then kind of go big. And this is the first step, which we are already kind of planning to deliver in January 2021. And we are planning to target US in April 2021 onwards, where we will be delivering the device in the States thereafter.
Okay. Okay, great. So if you're in Europe and India, it sounds like you can pre-order one now.
Yes.
Yeah, and then for US customers, and then what about outside of those places? What if you're in Australia or Japan and other places?
So that is also on plan from April onwards, because we have got a lot of traction from the States without even kind of targeting it. So we want to not kind of suppress the launch for US. We want to focus on US in April, and then maybe once we are good to go, the launch date for the rest of the world will be kind of a little 1 month delayed or little later.
Okay, great. And what's your estimated price, US price for this?
So it's 599 euros. And we are hoping to have the same price for US as well. In India, it's 35,000 rupees. So it's manufactured in India. So for India, that's why the price is 35,000. Whereas for Europe and US, hopefully it would be somewhere around 599 euros or US dollars.
Okay, great. I mean, for what it is, that feels like an incredible price, really.
Yeah, for an EEG device doing what it does, that's actually like pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Like you would find a lot of similar stuff in the US that would be like 2 to 4 channels maybe at a similar price.
Yeah.
That's like really appealing, especially with the form factor and everything included. It's really interesting.
Yeah, because that price point, it feels to me like, you know, for an individual user to be able to, you know, a regular person on the street to be able to buy one. Yeah, you know, $600 for us isn't something you just like throw, you know, at for most normal people. But for the right thing that's really going to help, you know, that seems like a reachable, achievable amount of money to spend on a personal device. So
and there is always an early bird discount.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
It would be very, very helpful.
Yes. So that's fantastic. And then in terms of some of the mechanics of it, like how compatible is it? Do you have iOS and Android? You know,
Yes.
what tell us a little bit about the compatibility.
So we are coming with both the mobile applications together because the market is, you know, equally dominated now with Apple and Android mobile phones. So we are coming with both the mobile applications.
Okay. Okay. Great. Super. Kiefer, what other questions do you have for Ria that we haven't addressed so far?
I actually had a few questions from the chat as well, if we'd like to take a couple. Actually, the one people were most curious about was the release, and so I think we just covered that. But folks were curious if you guys had planned for a demo or something to where you can, you know, make a video showing the device and kind of how it works and showing people, you know, what it's like when they get their device, you know, kind of tutorial or something like that.
Yes, definitely. So we actually released the teaser of the product on 9th of September, and the upcoming videos, we are already working on them, and we have kind of pipelined one which is a basic tutorial for people who want to just see how it looks. It's that would be kind of released next week, and then there are demo videos kind of pipelined for October and November, where you can just go for our YouTube channel and on our website, where you would be able to see all these demo videos and tutorials and some test videos, which we will be preparing by ourselves first before making the release. So everything would be available on our website.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, because I think we have a lot of like avid techies and biohackers in the community that are just like eager to just like sink their teeth into this and tear through it and figure out what they're going to do and how it works and what it is. And you know, how it sits in this whole ecosystem and stuff like that. So people are eager. Yeah.
We have a very cool AR filter on Instagram, which people can kind of try and see how it looks on their hair. So this is something we kind of created for the techies to kind of feel, you know, oh my God, this is something, you know, it's looking cool. I think I can buy it because that's what people have.
It's a good idea, yeah. For the fashionistas, the neuro-fashionistas. Yeah.
Well, I like the way it looks on my head. This is very important.
Yeah.
Too funny. Oh gosh, what other questions came in, Kiefer? Any others that we haven't addressed so far?
I think we've actually covered a lot of the questions that people have been chiming in about. A lot of folks about, you know, price, time, kind of when can they get their hands on it, a lot of that kind of stuff.
Great, yeah. So I'm ready to invest in your company. So I feel like this is such a promising piece of technology that yeah, it sounds like it's I predict it takes the world by storm. This is a great one. Wow.
Thank you so much.
Well, I don't have any other questions, and yeah, we're about at 1 o'clock, so it's probably good to wrap it up. Really honored that you could be here and take your time out to talk with Kiefer and I today. Thank you so much, Ria.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun and interesting. I loved talking to you both.
Yeah,
I'll ask you as well. So what is your favorite mode for the device? Do you use the calm, the focus, the sleep? What's your number one go-to?
For me, sleep. For me, so like I don't wear it while sleeping. I wear it before my sleep, you know. I have struggled through sleep because, especially since 4 years, my family was in India. I was here alone, and it always felt very difficult to kind of calm my brain down. And just like yesterday, I kind of just tried to sleep in utter silence, and I couldn't. Things just keep rushing back, like, you know, the past, and it's very difficult for me to sleep in a calm surrounding. So for me, it's very helpful. I use the device before sleeping for 15 minutes, and it just kind of pushes me into a state where my beta activity is very low, and then I kind of just I'm drowsy, and I just remove the device and go to sleep. That has helped me a lot. Like, that is something which I, as a customer, really love.
Oh, excellent. Actually, I have one more quick question. Actually, now that what is the folks might be curious, like, what is the battery life like? So it's a battery operated device and like kind of USB charged. How long can you run it for?
So it's Type-C charging, and it's for 8 hours. So you can wear it for like 8 hours at a stretch. It can be your 8 hours of office or any time else. So you can, and I think last through the device, depending on how many hours you use in a day, that would be like, I think, a couple of days it should last at least, but that's 8 hours.
Yeah, 8 hours is pretty good. And it's probably what's your charge time like? It's probably pretty decent with a USB-C.
Yes, so it should not be, it should be somewhere around, I think, like 30 to 40 minutes, I think.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's excellent, actually.
Yeah.
I actually thought of one other question too. Do you, in the feedback settings, do you monitor or look at coherence between the channels, like frontal coherence, or do you do any types of feedback training towards coherence?
Yes, we actually do. So we do kind of look at different aspects when it comes to, when we are kind of analyzing the brainwaves in the software. We kind of look at different aspects: theta to beta ratio, beta to beta high ratio. We look at the beta power, the gamma power, and we also look at the coherence. So kind of there are these different aspects, and based on what state you have desired, we kind of extract the protocols.
Excellent. And I'm assuming you could also just do a meditation and see what those numbers were, what your score was at the end. So how coherent was my session, or what was my theta beta ratio like during this session, that kind of thing?
Yes, you can, as I said, there's raw EEG data available for each session. So you can do that irrespective of just the graphs which we are showing in the mobile app. You can just see the raw data and analyze themselves as well.
Oh, that's super cool. Oh. Wow, I really want one.
I just want to play with it, right?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, Ria, I really hope that you I thank you for coming on, and I would love to have you back when we have a device and Kiefer and I can play with it, and maybe we can talk a little bit about it and have you on to discuss.
Yes, definitely. I would just recommend everybody to kind of subscribe to our newsletter, because just in case we have some early releases being made for different locations, we can connect to the people who are really interested and kind of help them with that. So if we are like kind of going good with the production, we can kind of reach out to people and see where the most market is. So I would just recommend, no spamming, definitely, but I would recommend to kind of subscribe to the newsletter and just contact us if you have any queries.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. That's great. So that's the best way. The best way for people to know about it and upcoming releases is to subscribe on your website to the newsletter.
Definitely.
Okay, great. Well, again, thank you so much for being on. Really an honor and have you here, and your story with your sister is incredibly inspiring. I feel the depth of your mission, and it's very heartfelt, and I just wish you all the success in the world, to you and your husband. It's really exciting to see this product, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. It's a pleasure to listen to your story and listen to the device and its development as well. So thank you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And as always, Kiefer, thank you so much for being on. And,
oh, my pleasure. Yeah.
Co-hosting with me and being here as our resident neuroscientist. It's awesome to have your perspective. And just
happy to be I was going to say a talking head, but I guess a rambling head might be a better one. So
no.
Yeah. Sure.
Your rambling head is welcome anytime. Thank you so much.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yeah.
And people can find Kiefer and learn more about him at PonderBrain.com is your place to find you, right?
Yeah, PonderBrain.com or jordan.kiefer.o'sullivan@gmail.com. I do consulting and meditation stuff and all kinds of good stuff. So.
Excellent. Yes, I highly recommend folks go check out what Kiefer's offerings are. And he's got some great articles too on brainwaves and neuroscience on his website. And if you want to find out more about the work that I do one-on-one coaching and actually have some new coaching opportunities coming out. Kiefer and I are actually going to partner on some coaching opportunities joint. Mm-hmm. So we're working on that right now. So you can find
cool stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, cool stuff coming out. And my collaborator, Stephen Altair, and I are also working on offering some joint coaching. So a number of things in the works. And you can find out about that at heartmindalchemy.com or Heartmind Alchemy Facebook page. And would love to hear from any folks that want to find out more about any of us. And I'll put some information in the show notes as well, so people can find us. So thanks again. Have a wonderful afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are watching this from, and appreciate all the users and people who wrote in with their questions. So thanks so much. All right. Bye, everybody.
Take care, everybody.